A very good morning to all my dear students. We are studying Unit 3, wherein the unit is being divided into four parts. From the last week itself, we have studied and discussed about part A of the third unit, wherein in that part A, we have discussed about the president of our country. We have discussed n number of things such as who is the president of our country, what are his qualification, what are the emoluments and salaries given to the president, what is the election procedure, what do you mean by impeachment, what do you mean by procedure of impeachment, what are the special privileges given to the president. Then we spoke about the powers and functions carried out by the president of our country. Then the powers and functions of a president during the emergencies. There were three types of emergencies: national emergency, state emergency, and financial emergency. Later, we moved on understanding about the vice president of the country. Then we started a topic called as Prime Minister of our country in my last class. We spoke about the Prime Minister of our country and the different parts and functions carried by the Prime Minister of our country. So today, we are going to speak about the Central Council of Ministers. The title of today's class is Central Council of Ministers. Students, this concept is not very important from your examination point of view, but you should have a general knowledge about the Central Council of Ministers. So let's start with the topic. So first I will discuss about the introduction regarding the Central Council of Ministers. As I had already told you all in my previous class that there is a Council of Ministers which is headed by the Prime Minister of our country. And very importantly, the Prime Minister of our country gives advices, gives suggestions, recommendation to the President of our country who exercises several functions. So in my previous class, I have already spoken about the President and the Prime Minister. But after studying this, there might be understanding or there might be a mindset wherein you may think that at the very outset, you may have an impression or you may think that the function of the ministers of our country are just, or you can say, are just merely advisory in nature. After discussing about the Prime Minister and the President, you may think that the ministers of our country only recommend advices or are just advisory in nature. Students, even though they are advisory in nature, they play a very important role or a vital role wherein they aid or they give assistance to the Prime Minister of the country, wherein the Prime Minister suggests the recommendations and the suggestions given by the Council of Ministers and communicates the same to the president of the country. Surely it is the decision of the president to accept those decisions, or sometimes it may so happen that he may ignore those decisions also. But when I speak about the Council of Ministers, student, the advisory nature is just not what is recommended or intended by the constitution. Or you can say that the function of the ministers, you can say, is not just to give suggestions or to give advices, but very importantly, you should understand that the advices, the decisions given by these ministers are binding in nature. Students, when I speak about the Council of Ministers, they make several decisions which may relate to the administration, which may relate to the working of the government, which may relate to the governance of the government. And very importantly, when the decisions are given by the Council of Ministers to the president or to the prime minister of a country, it is very important to note that these decisions given by the Council of Ministers are binding in nature. Hence, you should understand that no doubt there is a hierarchy which is followed in the working of the government. But you should not carry an impression that the Council of the Ministers has only a restrictive function. They play a very important and a vital role in giving or suggesting some decisions relating to the administration, working, or you can say governance of the government. And the decisions given by the Council of Ministers are regarded to be binding in nature. So now let us understand what is the role of Council of Ministers. Students, let us have a glimpse of my previous class. See, when I speak about the Prime Minister of a country, he is appointed by the President. Now, when I was explaining you all about the Prime Minister, I told you all that when the President is appointing the Prime Minister, he also appoints the different Council of Ministers. Or you can say, he appoints the different ministers. And the President appoints the different ministers only and only on the advice which is given by the Prime Minister of a country. So you should understand that the President of a country appoints the Prime Minister and he also appoints the different ministers of a country. But the President appoints the different ministers of a country only and only on the advice of the Prime Minister of a country. Students, when I speak about the role of Council of Ministers, it is very, very important because students, when I speak about the Council of Ministers, they are collectively, or you can say their association is very, very important, or you can say is responsible to the Lok Sabha, that is People's House. Now, what happens is when I speak about this Council of Ministers, they meet very rarely, only for a few number of times. But you can say that the cabinet of our country meets very frequently to take decisions. Students, when I speak about the cabinet of a country, it takes majorly all the decisions of the country. But when the cabinet is taking decisions, the council of the ministers take the responsibility of those particular decisions. Now, sometimes what happens is when the council of ministers is taking decisions, it may so happen that a individual minister decision may differ from the other group of decisions or from the other members, you can say. But what happens is he will not be able to express it publicly. Why? Because there should be confidentiality which should be maintained. So, students, when I speak about the Council of Ministers, if an individual is differing in his decision, which is taken against the entire Council of Ministers, he will not be able to express that particular decision unless and until he submits his resignation. Because there should be confidentiality which has to be maintained among the Council of Ministers. Because, very importantly, the Council of Ministers, again I'm repeating, is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha, that is People's House. Now, when I speak about the role of Council of Ministers, this Council of Ministers play a very important role in taking decisions, which I had already explained you in my last slide also. They take decisions regarding all the affairs of the government. They take decisions regarding the administration. They play a very important role in supervising all the execution of all these decisions also. Or you can say they take lead in supervising if the policies or decisions are being executed, or you can say implemented also. Now, when I speak about the role of Council of Ministers, they are the one who prepares the bills. They are the one who exhibits it in both the houses, that is Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, so that the bills becomes laws of the country. Students, when I speak about this Council of Ministers, they are the one who prepares the budget. You must be knowing that every year we have an annual budget wherein we take into consideration all the incomes and expenditures of the union government. So they play a very important role in taking decisions. They are very much related to the responsibility for carrying out the responsibility of Lok Sabha. They take all the policy decisions, and very importantly, they see to it that the decisions taken are being executed and implemented also. Students, when I speak about the Council of Ministers, it is the foremost duty of the president to see to it that whenever he is taking any decisions, those decisions should be a binding or recommended or suggested by the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers consideration during the decisions should be very much important and should be considered while the decisions have to be implemented. Now, it is also the duty of the Prime Minister of a country to communicate to the President of the country the decisions which are given or suggested by the Council of Ministers. Because when a president is taking any sort of decision, he takes that particular decisions on the basis or advices which have been given by the Council of Ministers. So I'm repeating it again and again. The Council of Ministers play a very important role in recommending or in providing decisions regarding the working, regarding the administration, and regarding the governance of the government. No doubt the final decision or the final call is being taken by the president of the country to accept the decisions or ignore the decisions. But it is the duty of the president to consider the decisions and recommendations given by the Council of Ministers. So when I speak about this Council of Ministers, they play a very important role because they are very much responsible for the decisions of the country. They are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. They are very much important in making or formulating different policies of the country. They are very important in taking decisions regarding the administration and working of the country. They are the one who prepares the budget, who takes into consideration the income and expenditure of the country. And very importantly, they provide aid, that is help. They provide assistance to the Prime Minister, wherein the Prime Minister takes into consideration the suggestions given by this Council of Ministers and communicates it to the President. The final call is being taken by the President of the country. Okay, let us move to the next part. Okay, students, the third part speaks about the 91st Amendment, which had taken place in the year 2003 regarding the number of ministers. Now, I told you that what is amendment? Amendment is there is either addition or deletion. Now, what happened is before 2003, that is before the year 2003, the Prime Minister of our country used to appoint the ministers of the country, or you can say he could appoint as many ministers or number of ministers as he felt necessary. There was no restriction on the number of ministers that had to be appointed by the Prime Minister of the country. But before 2003, there were no provisions regarding the number of ministers that should be appointed by the Prime Minister. However, due to this 91st Amendment, which which was incorporated in the year 2003, there was a restriction which was granted or incorporated on the grounds of number of ministers. And very importantly, this 91st Amendment incorporated that the total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister of the country, shall not exceed 15% of the total members of Lok Sabha. Once more, I'm repeating. Earlier means prior to 2003, there was no restrictions on the number of ministers that should be appointed by the Prime Minister of our country. But what happened is, how, or you can say according to the need of the hour, the Prime Minister appointed ministers as he felt necessary. But after the incorporation of the 91st Amendment, which had taken place in the year 2003, there were restrictions on the number of ministers. And very importantly, this restriction said that, or incorporated that, the total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister of the country, shall not exceed, so it should be maximum of 15% of the total members of Lok Sabha. Okay? Shall we move to the next part? Okay. Now, let us understand about the Council of Ministers and the Cabinet. Students, when I'm speaking about the Council of Ministers and the Cabinet, the Constitution of our country does not classify the members of the Council of Ministers into different ranks. The Constitution does not provide any ranking to any sort of ministers, or to any ministers, you can say. But before independence, when we had Britishers who were ruling us, they followed a practice wherein the ministers were classified mainly under three ranks. See, the Constitution does not provide that this three ranks should be specifically classified or provided or incorporated. But what happened is, the British practice classified the ministers under three ranks, wherein the three ranks were as follows. There were cabinet ministers, ministers of states, that is different states, wherein they had independent charges, and the third rank was deputy ministers. So there were three totally ranks: cabinet ministers, ministers of state, and deputy ministers. Now, when I speak about the cabinet, now you all must be feeling what is the difference between the cabinet and the council of ministers. So I will explain you all now about the council of ministers and the cabinet. Students, when I speak about the term cabinet, it is usually used interchangeably with that of council of ministers. It is usually used, okay? or you can say it is synonymously used. But if you understand the real meaning of it, the Council of Ministers is different and the cabinet is different. Students, when I speak about the Council of Ministers, or you can say the ministry, when I speak about the Council of Ministers, it consists of different categories of ministers. See, what happened is, you can say at the time of independence, there was no institution of this term called as cabinet. There existed only one executive council, and this executive council was transformed or changed into council of ministers. Earlier, that is before independence, we did not have a concept called as cabinet only. There was in all a executive council which consisted of different council of ministers, or you can say different categories of ministers. But what happened is, after a country became independent, this executive council of ministers turned or changed or recalled or revised as council of ministers. Now, when I speak about the term cabinet, it was used thereafter as the alternative for the council of ministers. See, earlier, once more I'm repeating, there was no concept called as cabinet. Okay. There was, before independence, a executive council which was renamed, reframed as Council of Ministers. And later, after independence, what happened? This Council of Minister was called as Cabinet. But if you go to understand the real meaning of cabinet, the cabinet is considered as the nucleus, the core part of the Council of Ministers. Are you understanding? See, earlier there was no cabinet before independence. After that, what happened is there was a executive council. The executive council is nothing but it was Council of Ministers. Then what happened is, when once we got independence, our country renamed it as Council of Ministers. Now people started understanding that Council of Ministers and Cabinet is one and the same. But it is not same. When I speak about the Cabinet, it is the nucleus, you can say, students, or it is the core part of the Council of Ministers. Now at this stage, what happened is, all the members of the ministry, or you can say all the members of the cabinet, except the prime minister, had the same status. All the ministers, all the different categories of ministers had the same status. There was no ranks which were granted. But when there was same ranking which was given, the conflicts started existing, or it started coming in picture. At that time, this situation changed, wherein what happened is, there were a situation wherein junior ministers which were appointed by this council of ministers, and this appointment was due to a report which was submitted by Gopal Swami Iyengar. And what happened is, when the same status, when the same ranking was given to all the ministers, there started conflicts between the ministers. And hence, what happened is, Gopal Swami report suggested or recommended that there should be a three-tier system. Three-tier system of the ministry that should be appointed or that should be framed. Now, why it should be framed? The three-tier system should be framed because there should be no conflicts that should be existed among the different ministers. Students, that this was only because earlier there was no particular ranking which was given to the different ministries or different ministers. All were having the same grounds or all were having the same status. And later, when there was conflicts which were arising, Gopal Swami report suggested or recommended that there should be a three-tier system which has to be established in the ministry, wherein the cabinet members should be at top. His report suggested, okay, that the cabinet minister should be at the topmost hierarchy. Next, the ministers of different states must be at the middle level, and the deputy ministers should be at the lowest rung, that is at the operational level. So, this report suggested that we should also follow the British practices, wherein we should also adopt a three-tier system wherein the Council of Ministry is divided into three parts: cabinet ministers, ministers of state, and deputy ministers. The cabinet ministers should be at the topmost hierarchy, the ministers of the state at the middle hierarchy, and the deputy ministers at the operational hierarchy. So, when I speak about the first hierarchy, which is called as the cabinet ministers, these were considered as the senior most ministers, wherein they had a powerful responsibility to look after the departmental boundaries of the entire field of administration and working of the government. They were wholly responsible for the entire administration. Next in rank came the Ministry of the State or ministers of different states, wherein the report suggested that the ministers of the state could hold independent charges, and this individual ministers could perform the functions and, you can say, exercise those powers same as those of cabinet ministers. But very importantly, the difference was that the cabinet ministers were responsible to the overall working, and these ministers of state were only responsible for their independent states. So, what happened is, this Gopal Swami Iyengar's report suggested that the powers, the functions has to be decentralized. The cabinet members must look after the entire working. The ministers of the state should see to it that the powers and functions should be exercised among the different independent states which they are being given charge of. And the deputy ministers were at the bottom of the hierarchy, wherein they did not have specific administrative powers. but they could help the ministers of the state, wherein they could answer the questions in the parliament behalf of the ministers of those particular states, wherein this deputy ministers could help in explaining the policies and programs to the general public. And if there were some special issues or special problems, this ministers could try to resolve those issues, or you can say try to answer to those issues. So once more, I'm giving you the glimpse of this slide. Students, first of all, you should understand that in our constitution, we do not have a specific provision wherein we give ranking to the different ministry or to the different ministers. But there is a British practice which is followed by us. Under this British practice, we have three types or three ranks, wherein the first rank is regarding the cabinet ministers, the second is the minister of states, and the third one is deputy ministers. Before independence, you can say that there was no cabinet which was formed. There was no council of ministers. There were executive councils who were responsible for the working and administration of the country. But after independence, this executive ministers who were responsible transformed or reformed or rechanged or revised into the council of ministers. Then what happened is the council of ministers and the cabinet terms in our country was used synonymously. And what happened during that time? All the ministers got the same status. No doubt, the prime minister had got a different status, but all other ministers had got a separate status. So, what happened is there were conflicts which were arising, wherein everyone started interfering in each other's administration. And there was no specific charge which was given to each minister. Thereafter, there was a report which was submitted by Gopal Swami Iyer, or you can say Gopal Swami Iyengar, wherein this report suggested that there should be a three-tier system in our country, like the three hierarchy, wherein the ministry should be divided into three categories: the cabinet ministers, the ministers of the state, and the deputy ministers. Students, when I speak about the cabinet ministers, they are at the topmost hierarchy who looks after the overall working and management and administration of the country. The ministers of the state have independent charges who look after the administration of their particular state. And this deputy minister assists the ministers of the state, wherein they answer to the questions held in the parliament. They take into consideration different policies. They study those policies and try to resolve those policies. Okay. Now, there are different other functions also which are conducted or held by this council of ministers. And also, there are different decisions which are being taken by the cabinet also. Students, when I speak about general functions which are recommended or performed by the cabinet are the cabinet, you can say, at the topmost level, recommends major appointments. They try to settle different issues of different departments. They coordinate with various activities of the government. They see to it all the issues are being sorted regarding the national issues and also international issues. They approve all the legislative enactments. So, all the topmost responsibility or working of the government is in the hands or is vested in the hands of the cabinet ministers. When I speak about the ministers of the state, all the responsibility regarding that particular state is vested in the hands of the ministry of the state. And I told you about deputy ministers, they are concerned wherein they explain the policies, they conduct different programs for the general public, they conduct special study, they try to resolve issues, etc. Next, this last slide, which speaks about collective responsibility. Students, our constitution clearly states that the council of the ministers shall be responsible to the house of the people. I have already explained you in my first slide. It means that the ministers of our country will be responsible to the Lok Sabha not as individuals alone, but they will be responsible collectively. That means that every member of the Council of Ministry should accept the responsibility which has been given, and very importantly, he has to be responsible for every decision which has been suggested. Just because everybody is taking decision, he cannot swim into that decision, or you can say sink into that decision. He has to stand with a particular decision without any pressure. He has to clearly define his terms and conditions. And very importantly, when I speak about the Council of Ministers shall be responsible to the House of People, that means that there is a vote of no confidence which against the Prime Minister of our country. Similarly, this adverse votes have been given in Lok Sabha, wherein there is when at the time of a bill which has to be sanctioned, the Council of Ministers should stand firmly because they are the people who are responsible for the overall working of the House of People. And hence, I'm telling you that our Constitution clearly states that not an individual, but entirely the Council of Ministers will be responsible for the working of House of People. Now, when I speak about individual responsibility, no doubt collectively all the ministers are responsible to the Lok Sabha students. But there is also an individual responsibility. See, sometimes what happens is an individual responsibility has to be enforced when an action against a prime minister or a minister without the occurrence of the cabinet has to be taken, and it has not to be criticized students. Now, similarly, what happens in some cases, you can say that if there is a personal conduct of any minister which is questionable, then he may have to resign, because these are the people who are collectively responsible for the House of People. And if it is affecting the faith of the government, the minister has to resign from the post of ministry. And hence, a person is individually responsible as well as collectively responsible to the Council of Ministers. So, once more, I will repeat. In my class, we spoke about the introduction, wherein I said that the Council of Ministers are appointed on the advice which is given by the Prime Minister to the President of the country. The Prime Minister appoints the Council of Ministers and communicates the same to the President, wherein the President takes the final call. All the decisions given by the Council of Ministers are binding and very importantly taken into consideration. When I speak about the role of Council of Ministers, they play a very important role in suggesting decisions, recommending suggestions, executing policies, framing policies, supervising policies, implementing policies, etc. The 91st Amendment of 2003 has brought a restriction on the number of ministers that has to be appointed by the Prime Minister. It should not exceed 15% of the total number of members of Lok Sabha, including the Prime Minister. Now, earlier there was no concept regarding a cabinet. There was Executive Council, which turned into Council of Ministers. In case of Council of Ministers after independence, every minister got the same ranking. And hence, there was a report which said that there should be a three hierarchy system, wherein you can say three hierarchy or three tier system, where there is a cabinet ministers, ministers of state, and deputy ministers. The cabinet ministers are responsible for overall working. The ministers of state are responsible for independent charge of a particular state, and deputy ministers assist the ministers of the state. And next, I spoke wherein the Central Council of Ministers are held collectively responsible for the House of People. And very importantly, there lies individual responsibilities on the shoulders of a minister, wherein if his personal conduct has to be charged, at that point of time, he has to resign because he is the one who is relatively responsible to the House of People, and he decides, this Council of Ministers decide the fate of the government. Okay, so with this, we finished first two part of Unit 3. We spoke about the President, we spoke about the Prime Minister, we spoke about the Vice President, we spoke about the Central Council of Ministers. Now, two things remained, that is Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, which will be continuing in my next classes. Okay, with this, I end my today's class. Thank you. Have a good day.